Good morning, everyone. Greg here, MasterTrader update. So it would seem that the markets, the world, don't care much about what's happening other than, is Donald Trump okay? After that bombing in the UK, the futures were down a bit last night, and now they're back up a bit. Not of something significant. However, it is interesting that now an event like that doesn't send the markets lower. That being said, you can see the S&Ps here are coming up into the top of this resistance area. They have regained the top of that huge bearish wide range bar that occurred last week on the news, where there was the talk of the Trump impeachment and so on and so forth. We've all heard it to nauseum. And so anyway, this big down day here, just looking at these kind of days historically, that decline in a day 2%, or give or take, or possibly even more, that start from a period of consolidation historically have led to a further correction. Now, looking at the last time this happened, and I don't have the chart up here, I shared that with subscribers on Monday, but what happened in that past was that the same thing, interesting enough, was that the markets came back toward the top of that wide range bar, and depending on the index you looked at, it actually exceeded it, like this looks like it's going to, and then went sideways for a bit and rolled over, and there was a correction. So we'll be watching to see if that happens, or whether this market just has been tremendously resilient, can go back up into new highs and hang up there and continue the march. So this pen here. I've talked about this momentum move and this little consolidation, and then the same type of momentum move or the strength. You can see the distances that the move happens, or prior to a stall and a little pullback. And this time here was this little pullback that formed that double bottom here. And now we've got just a little tiny move above the prior high before the momentum slowed down. And for you indicator junkies, you're all looking at your whatever it might be, and I know I don't have that lined up just right, but here's your bearish divergence there. Well, get rid of this stuff on the chart. You don't need it. Just look at the size of the moves. Keep it real simple. You don't need indicators to tell you when momentum is slowing down. You don't need trend lines and fib lines to tell you when trends are over. Just look at the low prior to the new high. If that breaks, your trend line is broken every time. So get a new high, look to the prior low. Prices trade underneath that, trend line is broken. Trend is broken. Move on. Wait for the next lower high to short it. All right, let's take a look at a few other markets. I want to look at some stocks in the retail sector. So here is the NASDAQ futures, and they're, again, just about up to the top of that bar. The weekly looks a bit better, though, which it has for a long time. But, it had this consolidation and giant super move, sideways correction versus pulling back, always bullish. You can see that the momentum has slowed down a bit. However, this week, negating so far this bottoming tail, or candlestick aficionados would call that a hangman. This week would have to turn negative or close down near the low, and then we'd see if it follows through lower. So now let's move my lines up here. Those were from yesterday. I had to move up, so immediate resistance right there, and support here, and a little minor support right here. We'd see, but we'll see if that just breaks through in at the open, or what it does here if it starts to pull back. The Dow has been showing relative weakness. However, it's been able to come up into that resistance area as well. And you can see maybe we got a little double top going on there on the weekly. We'll see how these play out as time goes on. Oil has come back strong, a big retracement up here, and just holding up. Big buyers down there at that support level. Now they're coming up into resistance. We'll see if they stall or what they do here. XLE, I type in here. We're keeping an eye on this sector here to see if it bottoms out here. You know, buyers have been stepping up for a bit here, so we'll see if they can get it to break through this area up here in 69. The financials are just hanging around, you know, got this big possibly head and shoulders top. You want to keep an eye on that. The transports were able to hold their 200 MA here and bounced from there. We'll see what happens in the gap fill. And lastly, I want to look at the retailing sector, which came down to this support level you can see on the daily and the weekly, bottoming tail. And now we've got, you know, a turn up here from yesterday. And I like this because, you know, it's what we call a climactic buy. You know, straight down, wide range bar at the end, momentum slows, another bar breaking to the downside, reversing back up again, a little shakeout, which you can see here. You know, on the 30-minute chart, the move down and the pop back up, and now, you know, it's kind of broken the back of that downtrend, at least in this time frame. So looking at a few of the stocks in the sector that I came up with that had similar patterns was Urban Outfitters. And it hasn't turned green yet, but it's got the bottoming tail bar. It's trying to base out here, so I'm watching to see if it can get through here. AEO, American Eagle, made the turn. You can see it bottoming out here, so possibly can push up a bit higher. So maybe some of these laggards can come on a bit. DSW, similar pattern, you know, making the turn. And lastly was CHS. So you can see they're pretty much all the same. They climactic down. They create this void. Downtrend begins to be broken, and maybe it can, you know, get a push up there for at least some day trades. I mean, they're weak stocks, and I look at these in that perspective of, you know, these are day trades. They could get ugly again all of a sudden. So some of the ones that have been doing great, like Apple, you know, potentially, right? It's not, I don't know yet, but potentially as it comes up into that gap fill, do we get a lower high? So keep an eye on that. And Netflix looks similar to it, which has been strong. You know, do we get a lower high here, and does it roll back over? It's into this unfilled gap and that break lower. So we'll see if that, you know, happens, and, you know, that might get, you know, the weekly still looks great, but the daily here has some damage to it. So with the markets having experienced that big wide range bar last week, prices retracing up into that area, we're going to see if there's going to be some follow through with some selling in some of these broader markets. So stay tuned for that, and we'll do the next update tomorrow.